Hello everybody, my name is Steven and welcome back to Storytime. Without wasting any further time, let's get into our stories of the day. You want me to stop speaking Welsh? In Wales? I posted here a while back about an entitled dad making fun of me for stuttering in a coffee shop. This little gem occurred mid last year. Also, there's going to be a lot of hard to pronounce words here, so just in the slim chance Yugo's owner covers this, I'm going to include pronunciation tips. Cast: EM, entitled mother, LB, little boy, OG, old guy, me, yours truly. So for context, I was born in a country in North Wales called Gwynedd, and as such, I'm a part of a tiny minority because I didn't even begin learning English until I was about 11 or 12. I'm 21 now, so naturally I'm much more comfortable speaking my native language, Welsh. Now, because I wasn't content to be a farmer or a primary school teacher, I moved down south and ended up in Cardiff where only something like 7% of people can speak any Welsh. No problem, I'm confident enough speaking English by now. I should also preface that I'm autistic and not good with confrontation at all. I also stutter a lot when I speak English. So I've been working in a coffee shop for a little while now, dealing with people and just generally starting to get settled in. One day, I meet a kindred spirit. This elderly man who's been coming in regularly more for company than for coffee. Whenever I see him, I get his order ready right away and I sit with him when I've got a spare few minutes. I say he's a kindred spirit because he's another native Welsh speaker but speaks very little English. I find that a bit odd considering he lives in Cardiff, but over the next few days he tells me about his life. Old guy tells me how he grew up in Pwllheli, which made me really happy because I'm from Caernarfon, which is just a little ways north. He tells me how he owned a fishing boat and used it to make his living while his wife worked as a teacher. They moved down to Cardiff together into a really big house when his wife finally retired, and this went pretty smoothly since she could speak fluent English and handled most things outside. Recently, old guy's wife died of leukemia, which has made life a lot harder for him. The guy had a fantastic sense of humor and I was happy to sit and keep him company, if only for a little while here and there. I guess it was nice for him to actually be able to have a solid conversation with someone. My manager used to know the guy's wife as both of them came in here a lot before I started working, so he was always sympathetic and made sure to pick up the slack a little bit as a result of me chatting with him. Even though I'm not fantastic at being social, old guy had a great outlook on life even for a widower. He always had the most interesting stories to tell, including one time he recounted how he swam back to shore after his little sailboat capsized in a storm. He always just had this freak all of you, I'm my own free idiot kind of attitude which I admired a lot. One day we're gibbering away and entitled mother comes over with a little boy's hand clutched in hers. Shouldn't you be doing your job? Oh, it's fine, don't worry. I'm still clearing tables but my manager asks me to keep an eye on this gentleman. Old guy is confused at this point, barely understanding a word, so I explain to him that she's just asking about something. What? What was that? She's really getting in my face now. I'm starting to get extremely nervous and I can barely get my words out. What did you say to him? Here you are slacking off. Speak English. Old guy says,
"Are you he?"
Who's she? I explain to old guy she's demanding we speak English. At this point, I'm just kind of stalling talking directly to this woman as I'm not even sure what to say. The little kid she's with is looking slightly alarmed at what his mom is doing. You're in Wales, speak English for God's sake, not this Middle Eastern crap. Excuse me? You heard me. Little boy says, Mom, are we getting food yet? Not yet, Mummy's talking. Old guy says in Welsh, but I don't know any English. This sends entitled mother into a right huff and she looks around the shop, appealing to the other customers. Sorry, but I don't appreciate lazy foreigners in my country, in my coffee shop. Yes, she really said my. What kind of example are you setting for my son? At this point, another customer, who undoubtedly heard OG and I having a very animated conversation, calls to her from the other side of the shop and says, Hey lady, you're in Wales. They're speaking Welsh. You knew that, right? A few other customers start giggling a bit before shaking their heads dismissively and going back to what they were doing. Stay out of it. She snaps at the customer, then turns back to me, although she's certainly gone a deep shade of red now. She's obviously doubling down. At this point, I'm just kind of frozen in social anxiety. Not sure how to turn my mind words into mouth words anymore. Yeah, we're in Go on, say something then, and it better be in English. I look briefly to old guy who just had this evil, malicious compliance-like grin on his face. Old guy, in the thickest Welsh accent you can imagine.
Turn around, go right now, blank your mum, cheeky cow.
Anyone in the immediate vicinity just goes silent and stares. Even I was straight up not expecting that to come out of the guy's mouth. In a right huff, entitled mother stomps out of the shop, wailing little boy clutched in hand. I look at old guy who just bursts into a fit of laughter. How did you know how to? Old guy then cuts me off and goes on to explain to me that his wife taught him to say that because she had this friend who would constantly poke fun at him knowing he wouldn't understand. His wife would nudge him and he'd deliver that line to shut her up. Old guy, even though you're not with us anymore on Earth, I will never forget you and your refusal to take anyone's bull. I wish I had you for a granddad. Rest in peace to this fantastic gentleman. If you were in that situation and you had this entitled mother bearing down upon you, what would you say? Or what would you do? Let me know what your reaction to this would be in the comments below. Stood up against an entitled mother and she backed down. AKA an amazing day. This one takes place in a retail setting, but I was there as a customer/bystander who got involved. It is also a very proud moment for me. I worked as a retail manager for years before, and around the time this event took place. PW, the poor worker who had to deal with this Karen, EM, Karen, me, B, bystander. It took place at JCPenney's and I was in line behind a lady at the shoe department checkout counter. I was waiting patiently, mind wandering until my turn to check out. What brought my attention to the forefront was that tone of voice, the kind a customer has when they are trying to get their way through bullying and manipulation. I am sorry, but we cannot add that discount again, it is already on there, said poor worker, who had a strong Pakistani accent. I got this in the mail that says I get an extra 20% off if I use my pennies card. I see the 20% for the store sale, but I am giving you this to get an extra 20% off. These shoes are for my daughter, yelled entitled mother. The 20% is added automatically when you use your card. The paper is just to tell you this, explained poor worker. No, you are clearly not understanding what I am saying. Just give me the dang discount, screamed entitled mother. At this point, something in me said, freak this, I'm not standing by. I had been on the receiving end of that type of thing thousands of times and could never say what I thought. Hey, stop yelling at her, I spoke in a loud voice. She clearly understands exactly what you are telling her, just can't bother to listen. Stop trying to cheat the system and just check out. Would you mind your own business and just go away? Entitled mother snapped at me. I would love to go away, I responded with a chuckle. However, I need to check out and I'm stuck behind this crazy person being very rude to an employee. At this point, entitled mother looks around and turns to another customer, the only person nearby, who was right by this all, shopping and listening. Do you think I am being rude? She said to B in a raised voice. Yeah, you are, replied B. Entitled mother looked around like she was being ganged up on and there was nobody else nearby to support her cause. Huffed entitled mother. Fine, just ring them up and I will have a manager fix it. Holy shoot, are you serious? I asked, laughing. Entitled mother just grumbled under her breath, finished her transaction, snatched her receipt, and walked away huffing. Have a good day, I smiled and waved to her. I walked up to the counter then to make my purchase. Poor worker gave me the biggest smile and said, thank you so much for stepping in, she was horrible. She was entitled and horrible. I work in retail and have been on the receiving end too many times and not been able to speak my mind. It was a pleasure, trust me, I replied. They suck, but you have a great day, I said as I finished and headed to the exit. As I walked to the door, I passed customer service, and there was entitled mother yelling at who looked to be a high manager. He was shaking his head no at her, and she was waving the flyer around like an idiot. Sadly, knowing how it works, I am sure somebody at some level gave in to her and she got her way. She at least got shut down this once, and I was finally in a position to say something. I was so elated the rest of the day and felt so empowered. Oh, to be on the dishing end instead of the receiving one. It must have felt so good for OP having taken so much of it in the past. Entitled mother thinks she's entitled to having an entire gym pool opened up for herself. My mom has been close to the owner of the gym for years now. She also cleans up around the gym a lot, but likes to act as if she actually works there, which leads to her trying to dictate how my sister does her job there. Anyways, recently with the virus outbreak, the owner of the gym closed it down temporarily because he is afraid of anything spreading. My mom, however, believes that she should leave the pool open specifically for her because she 1. Always helps out there, even though she wasn't ever asked, 2. Desperately wants to do her daily swimming. I told her she needs to suck it up and that we are in a serious time right now where we can't just do things we want anymore. She still thinks it's okay and sanitary to open the pool just for her, and that even if others come, there will barely be any germs. She is going to text the gym owner soon to try and convince him to open it back up, and even use a bunch of examples of pools still open in other towns. I tried telling her that's just rude and also costs a lot of extra money to just run a pool for one person, but she just really needs her swimming. I know he will say no, but she thinks there is still a chance somehow. Personally, I think she's delusional and potentially causing contribution to the problem itself. So what, I left you to die? I still deserve your money. Hey guys, I hope everyone is safe at home. Not my story. I read about it in our local newspaper years ago. It was quite a well-known story at that time. An elderly doctor couple with no children came to know about a newborn baby girl whom someone had left in a waste dump. The baby was about to die. They took her to the hospital and then formally adopted her. Years later, the girl herself became a doctor and earned good money. An old, poor couple came to the girl claiming to be her biological parents and demanded that she give them money as they didn't have any means to provide for themselves. The girl didn't believe them, but after DNA tests, it was proven that they were indeed her biological parents. How they knew, that wasn't mentioned in the article. The couple kept demanding money from her, saying as she was their daughter, it was her responsibility to look after them in their old age. When the girl asked them why they left her to die, they tried to justify their actions and said that if they hadn't left her there, she wouldn't have so much money right now. It was because of them she had money, and so they deserved some of it. They wanted money as their other kids, sons mostly, either didn't earn or didn't want to take care of them. When the girl refused, they threatened to go to court against her. In retaliation, she sued them for abandonment and a few other charges. There was no follow-up article, so I don't know what happened to the girl or those pathetic excuses for human being. Personally, if I was in that girl's shoes, I would feel like they deserve a lot less than nothing. Soccer mom is mad I fired her no-show daughter. SM, entitled soccer mom. SD, daughter who works under me and also plays soccer, 18 years old. Me, moi. So this takes place a few years back. It was shortly before my store manager abruptly quit and I ended up running the store for a third of the year. Part of my role involved in dealing with staffing issues. At this Dress for Less store, it is very hard to get fired for anything, including being a no-show. If you had 2 consecutive no-shows or 3 non-consecutive no-shows in a short period, you could be let go for job abandonment. You could call in all the time and still have a job. And some did for a while. But then you would get a lot fewer hours after that because we could not rely on you. My boss was still making the schedule and he based it around the availability that was provided to him by staff. So soccer daughter had turned in her availability at the start of the semester and she was scheduled around that. She had maybe 1 to 2 days a week scheduled tops. At this point, she had not shown up for about 2 weeks, leading to 3 non-consecutive days. I worked that evening and tried to call to get a hold of her. On the second day of her not answering, about 3 calls, I decided to leave a voicemail. Hi soccer daughter, this is me at retail store. Due to you having 3 consecutive days of not showing up for work, we are going to have to end your employment with us. Reach out to me if you have any questions at phone number. Thank you. It was the script my company gave to me. I let the manager know and all was settled. The next morning I opened the store and at the moment I was in the office getting some paperwork ready for the day, the phone rang and I picked it up to an angry voice demanding to speak to me. I politely said that I was me and how could I be of help. She proceeded to yell at me how I ruined her daughter's day. I stated that I did not know who she was referring to, but that I do not recall doing anything today that could be looked at that way. She then told me that she was soccer daughter's mom and that what we did was unprofessional and horrible. I told her that since soccer daughter is 18, I cannot go into details of her daughter's employment. My daughter is just a kid, she screamed. Legally, that is not true, I replied. Well, you scheduled my daughter for times she cannot work and when she has school and practice, so she should not be fired. I calmly replied that we staff our store based on availability that is provided to us, and it is set in the system so that it will only allow that. She said that is not true and that her daughter is on a soccer scholarship at a local community college. I replied that is good for her, but if she is scheduled to work and cannot, she needs to be able to let us know, as we do have a business to run. My daughter is going to school on a soccer scholarship and she has to practice hard on soccer, so you have to work around that, she yelled. We staff based on the availability we are provided, and for staff to be employed here, they do have to show up for their shifts, I replied, a little testily. At this point, she followed up with, my daughter is going to school to get a much better job than you have in retail. She is going to be a teacher. I curtly replied, "Oh, that's nice. One of my degrees is in education." "And you work here?" she said demeaningly. "I do, and luckily it pays about twice as much as a teacher makes, so there is nothing in you that can talk down to me," I replied angrily as I slammed the phone. The job market for teachers sucked, and I wasn't necessarily delighted with my career at the moment due to some life situations. She called back immediately, and I picked it up. And when I heard it was Soccer Mom, I hung up again. She did not call back after. Man, I feel for OP here. Obviously, the conversation struck a nerve and it upset them, and that was unfortunate to read. But with that, that's all the stories we have for today, so let me know which of these stories was your personal favorite and why in the comments below. And of course, thank you all so much for listening to and watching the Storytime channel. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing and turn those notifications on so you'll never miss an upcoming video. And don't forget to let me know which of these stories was your personal favorite and why in the comments below. Thank you all again for watching and listening to the Storytime channel.